Welcome back, everybody. Today we are discussing Severance Season 2, Episode 9, The After Hours. The penultimate episode begins with the wealthy elite. Helena swims in their indoor swimming pool, and this shot of the large glass shows us this fearless nature of a stronghold. I assume it is the perfectly warm swimming pool far removed from the winter world outside, the disconnect between themselves and the planet being the purpose. The clock hands in the sequence never quite align as they tick, and I think that is just spectacular. And then at the end here, she is face up in the water, but it's being shot straight down, putting the water above her head as if she was swimming and this was being shot from underneath and like swimming forward. It's weird, and aside from the disconnect that I've already pointed out, I think maybe this is to highlight an uncertainty in Helena, as if to say that she doesn't know which way is up or correct or like what she wants to do with regards to something in this episode. This shot is wild, and the first thing I want to point out is the clear difference between the houses that we've seen so far of all the working class and this wealthy elite group that is trying to control the world. The glass walls might serve a higher purpose when we see the water tower possible panopticon, and I want to talk about that now because it's the largest prop in this scene by far, the glass walls. The outside shot doesn't do a good job of showing if these are tinted or not, and I wish they did. Tinted windows means that they spy on the world while being perfectly hidden. Untinted means they believe in transparency into the home and put that facade of belief on for the world to show that they have nothing to hide, operating in plain sight because they don't believe they have anything to hide or believe that they are untouchable and it doesn't really matter. The other perspective I want to share about the glass house relates to me living in the country a few years ago. My ex-wife and I divorced. I was paying like $2,000 a month for an apartment in Austin, ridiculous, and I moved back in with my mother, and our biggest issue was the internet. Out in rural Elgin, Texas, companies didn't even have copper cable laid for the poorest in the region to connect. The only other option was the line of sight internet provider that required an antenna with a clear line of sight between you and the tower. Very susceptible to weather, and the one tree on the property that sometimes turned into a Faraday cage with a strong gust of wind. The purpose of all of that prose is to share that this building could behave in the same way. And since we know that the implant has remote networking capabilities that we still don't know how exactly they work, this could be foreshadowing, and this could show that a line of sight connection could ultimately be good here. Even not line of sight, like radio wave frequency, there is nothing between these 2 points, means that there are very few obstacles for the signal to be reduced. The water tower could be issuing the severance protocol commands, and a clear line of sight could be required for long distance orders, meaning the surrounding land of Kier being barren, flat land, could have more meaning in the future if that is true.
A momentous day.
They talk about eating, and James decides to watch her eat instead. We see him have some issue with her eating cooked eggs, wishing that she would continue his legacy of drinking them raw, and the way this was delivered after talking about getting rid of Irving makes me think that previously there were much more brutal ways of getting rid of people. I wish he would take them raw, as if taking them raw was how he preferred. There's also room for an incest joke here, but I am an evolved gentleman, okay? I would never stoop that low. Also, it just kind of feels super icky with the reveal later that he has now gotten multiple severed women pregnant and has like a whole code and like protocol for it, and taking them raw. Yeah, you get it. The plate itself shows a whipping boy, which was basically the best friend of a prince that would be raised alongside him. And whenever he would do something wrong, the prince, the whipping boy would take the punishment while the prince got to learn the lesson from the sideline. It feels like her Innie later in the episode is heading for that whipping boy status, as James is upset with his daughter about something. And then, of course, one last note before we move on here, one of the things that we saw Gemma doing was a workout routine, and both her and the doctor have these gym uniforms on while on the testing floor. Having an Innie that could only exist to train your body could be a thing, and this little pause in the water could be highlighting the Innie enjoying a few moments of relaxation before she just doesn't exist again. Also, consider the whipping boy plate. Imagine if you could have an Innie that only existed to be criticized by your father, letting you avoid the harsh words that somehow get included into every interaction y'all have. It would make the whipping boy plate have a whole bunch of upfront meaning, as we're not seeing Helena being talked at, we are seeing her whipping boy.
Unveil.
Eustace Wong, the newest fella of the James Egan Wintertide program. Her bed will be moved from her parents' home to the Gunnell Egan Empathy Center in
Svalbard.
It's interesting to me that she's moving to the empathy center, and later when Dylan is a wreck, she shows empathy to him. Seems like maybe it's a good placement for her, but truly, since this is a story about an evil corporation world appendaging, I doubt that this center is the focus of anything meaningful, at least right now. I believe that in the future, if whatever the next revision of Severance is, whether it's immortality, whether it's severance-as-a-service, whether it's an afterlife, if they remove the bad actors and the people that have established this culture that is doing these bad things at Lumen, then this center could, and her research and her service to this empathy center could at some point come into the equation, as we're seeing someone offer empathy in a place that it needs it, and the current power, Mr. Milchick there, shooting it down, right? So maybe in the future, if they get rid of all the bad apples, that, you know, this could come into the equation again. But right now, I'm kind of seeing this as her being put away, her being another sharp mind that Lumen is hiding from the world. Also, her bed being moved for her means that she likely won't get to see her parents again, just like Miss Cobel.
Empathy awaits, fellow Wong.
He then makes her lay the ring game down on the table and has her break it with the James Egan bust. It's a sacrifice required by the handbook to further add to the culty, joyless existence that one must have in order to properly serve Kier. I wonder if this started with Miss Cobel inventing Severance, and then they rewrote the handbook to include this pledge so that they could take it from her. It is also really interesting to me that Mr. Milchick is having her destroy this totem of an Egan, and the possible depth that could have, but I digress.
I kissed your innie.
We see that Gretchen is working for 911 in some capacity and then drops the bomb on Dylan about smooching his innie. It starts with an incredibly uncomfortable dialogue between these two that sometimes felt hard to empathize with. For me, if my wife came to my job and was macking the enslaved version of myself, I don't know if I would really care. That's just me, though. I'm sure it will be different for others. The thing that really stings about this encounter is...
He reminds me of how you used to be.
Okay.
Dylan.
It's such a terrible thing to say to your partner, but does a great job of sharing exactly why she's feeling some kind of positive thing toward the other version of himself. We talked about this before. He's not trying out here, and he is in there, and the trying was the thing that she fell in love with.
Maybe I just go quit. Maybe I go in and I quit and I just end his existence. How about that?
This was such a shocking moment because in some ways he has all of the cards. He can't trust his wife to not cheat on him, and to avoid that pain, he could just kill the dude outright. It's wild that Dylan resigns later to do this exact same thing in spite of his outie.
Burt.
I loved this moment. Burt sitting in his home, the lighting, the chest opened, his private notes being read back to him. It's such a powerful moment. And of course, we learn that Burt was some kind of enforcer goon for Lumen. He says that he only drove people places, but it just comes across to me as a great way to dodge blame, knowing that he was fully responsible for what happened to whoever he drove. I think there is some truth here, and he likely drove James' girls to the retreat, or got rid of them when it was requested.
Connected to several recent disappearances or deaths.
Called this episodes ago. Irving was aware, he was investigating, and knew their danger going into the entire encounter. We still need to learn who he was operating for and how he was, how he has this image of the testing floor to obsessively paint, but the pieces are coming together. I think by the end of this, when he leaves, there is still some kind of person to report to, there is still a project going against Lumen, and he is still likely a part of that.
Lumen. Goon. That stings. We never used words like that.
He never denies it. He just corrects the issue with the language, and God, that was so powerful. Very enjoyable moment for me. The tension, the writing, perfect moment here.
Go for a ride with me.
This too, because Irving swears these notes were from before he properly knew Burt, but Burt knows that that is a lie. He knows that Irving still sees him for what he really is, and the offer to go for a ride is ultimately an act to prove himself. To not join would confirm that he's afraid, that he needs to be dealt with, and to join would ultimately allow them more time to talk and get on the same page. Also, the idea that several people have been disappeared means that we still need to know why. Are all of these Audi employees that start questioning the nature of their reality? Do they just randomly off people for experiments? There are reasons so many people have gone missing, and this Gooner role was needed, and again, we need to know why. We also get this establishing shot of Lumen, and the roads around them kind of look like the frequencies that we've seen elsewhere. I'm sure that that is intended, but confirmation bias could be informing this next thought, that it is a subtle way of showing that Lumen is sending these signals out into the world. Throughout this video, I talk about this a little bit, but really, I think that what we're building towards is that next season, it's going to be about controlling geographical locations outside of this individual town. We also see the testing floor is empty and the doctor is alive and well, using the doppelganger MDR computer to look at the 96% on the Cold Harbor file. This episode disproved my theory about the Innie and Audi timelines being out of sync, I believe, which is a great shame that I'll never recover from, but this little thing got me thinking about the role of Mr. Drummond.
The numbers aren't moving.
The numbers aren't moving.
He may just be running late.
This paired with the eat shit line later that properly communicates whose job it is to make sure employees show up to work here makes Mr. Drummond more of the manager of the building than some large cog in the system. Mr. Milchick is manager of the severed floor and Drummond is the manager of the building, I think. And here he operates as a middleman that really doesn't need to exist at all.
The final quota was promised today.
I did not like this reveal. It just feels so sudden and not properly built toward. We hear the momentous line earlier from James, but that, I think, is about it. Why was the quota promised today? When was the quota promised? It comes out of nowhere, and if the promised quota was introduced a few days ago and episodes ago, and we were reminded of it in the background while everything else was going on, and it would have created a nice ticking time bomb effect, but here it just feels like it's thrown in and resolved this episode to make it clear why it was so important that Mark gets to work today, and it ultimately fails. Like nothing happens, and now we just go forward knowing that they missed a deadline that we should care about, and I don't.
Hello? Mark?
Hello, Mark.
We see Mark and Devin en route to Miss Cobel's secret rendezvous location, and here...
And how about me? Am I me or a copy machine?
Hear me out. Okay, I'm just kidding. I don't have a strong theory about this line, but the idea that people could be replicated has been part of this series since the very beginning, and I have to imagine this could mean more if bringing people back is ever introduced.
Tragically, you're you.
Again, if Mark is the copy machine for Gemma because of how intimately he knows her, him saying tragically you're you is because she's not the copy machine for him, and then he coughs because he just did the thing that leads to PD dying. If this theory ever comes true, this has some extra depth, and ultimately he's coughing because he is about to die, and she's not the copy machine, and that's unfortunate.
There's a mistake.
They talk about the foolish nature of this plan, but really have nothing else going on for them. It's foolish from their perspective, and I believe foolish to the point that they wouldn't be doing this thing, but here we are. The curved road here made me think that, honestly, it made me think that they were going to the spot where Gemma died, but it wasn't that at all. And in light of the thought that maybe the roads could represent the frequencies, maybe this does as well, but in a much larger sense. Like, imagine the entire town is laid out with these winding roads, and it's almost like a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood transmutation circle, a story in which bringing people back from the dead is also a mainstay. I don't know why he doesn't answer the phone and say that he's sick right away. Like, not answering it could be good if they suspected like the cell phone towers could track where they are, but it doesn't come up in any kind of capacity. And we saw him call out sick before. He knows how to do this. Why?
Where's Mark?
Non-disclosure policy forbids.
Milchick dodges the question and tries to focus on his work while the unruly Helly demands answers that she is not privileged to as an Innie. I've seen a theory talking about how this is actually Helena and they're doing another little swippy swappy. I don't know why. I don't think it's that. If I'm wrong, but I have no idea where that theory came from. I just wanted to share that.
Don't you mean Helly?
She does try to use her outside status to get what she wants, and it doesn't work. So maybe I can understand some of where the theory comes from. But I mean, she knows this, and it really feels like to me she just wanted to hurt him and let him know that at the end of the day, he is still beneath her.
You are my subordinate, and this behavior constitutes insubordination.
Yeah, no shit.
She slams the door, and we come to Dylan learning about his Audi's outrage.
I can't see you anymore.
It is a hard moment for both of them, and really, I can't believe that Gretchen came back at all. I sincerely thought that she was just be gone, and Mr. Milchick would have to tell Dylan why he never got another visit, but instead, she comes back and tells him that his Audi is making them break up. So, he does what a desperate man must.
Gretchen G,
Oh my God.
I love you.
It is heartbreaking, and despite the complicated nature they live, it is a tale as old as time. Love is universal. It is something indescribable, but somehow we always try. Both Dylans know her heart, but only this one wants to love her like she wanted to be loved all of those years ago. He deserves her, and all he can do, and all we can do, is hope that Audi Dylan wakes up and realizes how lucky he is. Also, Miscellaneous Gab pointed out that he made this from a finger trap, which is just so freaking sweet. It also, it was all that he had, and he was willing to give it and provide for her. And Dylan, I'm sorry, buddy.
I'm so sorry.
Sometimes that's all you can say.
We should keep it.
Helly comforts him for a moment and then brings up how the Audis don't value them at all. They are objects for their betterment, and the only family they have is each other. Dylan's family was Irving, and they convinced him to betray the quest for the Black Hallway for a woman that he didn't even know.
And if we're so different from our Audis, then how come we couldn't tell when you were gone?
Irving could.
Mark couldn't.
This scene is wild, one of my favorites in this episode. The writing is doing so much with so little, and I love it. He's upset and adds the line about Mark solely to be vindictive. It's venom, and it's because his entire world feels like poison now. She can believe herself different from the woman that runs the company enslaving them, but at the end of the day, it is her. And I also love this moment for the shot selection. We see Dylan in pain at the end of this previous scene with this up-close shot showing his contemplation, and then this moment ends showing the same shot for the same purpose. Hurt people, and now the pain that Dylan felt taints Helly.
How are you?
Oh my God, so good. My wife's being held prisoner at Lumen. I just got brain surgery in my basement.
In retrospect, maybe it should have been a little more clear that Ragabi was bad vibes, but here we are. I loved this little catty response, but really the whole scene just felt so awkward and uncomfortable. Cobel is quick to consider them allies and wants to wait until night for them to go to the birthing retreat. And it's not clear why, but
It's perilous.
she starts talking about Cold Harbor, and I was really hoping that she would reveal something to Mark about what they do down there, and it just doesn't happen. She says that if she completed it, Gemma would already be dead. You know my theories at this point. This could have additional meaning. If it is truly about bringing her back, Cold Harbor being her literal death for the sake of them being able to bring her back or observe her final moments, create that photo death zone, I think that is the implication here. Or it could just be that Lumen offs the test subjects like they convinced the creator of Severance to remain silent. It's their story, and they will remove the people who would claim credit in any capacity. The biggest issue with this scene is that Mark has a considerable degree of power, and we don't really know what Miss Cobel's intentions are. They just decide to go with her instead of outright demanding to know what information she has and giving her the ultimatum of tell me what we do down there or devour fecal matter or whatever Milchick said. This leverage doesn't come up and revealing something big like this during the penultimate episode is what needs to happen in order to build tension into the finale.
She better be fucking alive.
Miss Cobel wants him to call Mr. Milchick and tell him that he's unwell. But again, because this is what every member of the working class was thinking when he first called, and we saw this happen in season 1, it really just feels like Mark was missing the obvious thing, and they're and they did it so that Miss Cobel could seem more like an ally, but it's a nothing sandwich. She's offering nothing. He should have known this. He should have done this. What the fuck?
There is literally no other option than to do what the fuck she says right now for Gemma.
Why is that true? They haven't explored the control that Lumen has over the press or the police. It's only been hinted at, and for this no other option feeling to be properly conveyed, they should have made it clear that the town isn't just run by Lumen. They controlled it to a reasonable degree that they have no other options beside the person that they know was once an enemy. They don't even know that she was outed from the company, I don't think. I'm assuming that they talked about it over the phone off screen. Man, I'm really trying to wrap my head around this act of aligning with her in general, and if it's revealed that Devin is like part of the system keeping Mark contained in some degree, I think this works. But right now, I'm just not feeling it. I think that we all agree that like Lumen controls this area, the Egans control this area, but sincerely, what other options have they tried? They know that his wife is a prisoner at a building. Call the fucking police. Storm it with the army. The National Guard exists. Surely there's somebody who cares. Bring a bazooka. Bomb.
I drove people places.
Burt talks about his gooning for Lumen, and Irving worries that today is just another one of those moments in which he drove people places and doesn't know what happened. It is a great tension, and his lack of response when asked if today was just another attempt to silence dissonant voices means that it really could still be that. By the end of it, I do feel real love that Burt has for Irving, but really who knows what happens to the train after it leaves the station. Also, Helena tells her father at the start of the episode that she's taking care of Irving, so I think that we know this is a request.
I'm sure you know this is very disappointing and reeks of ingratitude.
Dylan fills out the resignation request, which means that he is killing himself over heartbreak. It is a tale as old as time, and I cannot help but feel for him. So let me just say this. Life is long and strange and weird, and that one person that you think makes the sunrise and protects your heart through the night does not exist. Only your perceptions of them. Your ability to perceive is the most important thing. It is the creation of reality, and removing your ability is the death of the universe itself. Your existence is the most beautiful thing that you will ever have and create, and the only person protecting your heart, regardless of what the other part of your mind says, is you. It is the little guy living inside of your brain, the one hearing me speak, watching this video, smelling your world, tasting your food, and feeling what it's like to exist in your beautiful reality. Do not resign. Life is long and strange and weird.
I'm sorry, Dylan G.
Miss Wong offers the sweet note to a hurting man, and Dylan assures that it wasn't her fault. Mr. Drummond then continues talking about this being Lumen's finest day and blaming Milchick for everything. Mr. Milchick thanks him for his remonstration.
A needlessly complex word for a simple idea.
Best part of the episode right here, by far. Oh my God. Mr. Milchick eventually tells him to eat shit, and again, I think we can take away that Mr. Drummond's role is something of a site supervisor, but it's not exactly stated outright. It feels like Mr. Drummond is dogging him here, wanting to dish out some punishments because the managers are responsible for their workers' mistakes, and Drummond will likely have to answer for why things went wrong, like Mark did when Helly tried to off herself, and like Miss Cobel did when her workers went off course.
It's not my fault what Mark Scout does when he is not at work. It's yours.
We then see Mark making the call to Mr. Milchick. He brings up the clinic in Soil Hill, which feels like another location named for the resource that's available to be harvested by Lumen. North Pine having trees, Salt's Neck having necks, or I guess salt if you're basic, and Soil Hill having soil, the three main ingredients for world domination.
Let me send a car. You are a priority employee, and you should be under Lumen care.
The lie starts falling through right away, but then Mark does something that I wish my friends and loved ones would do as well.
I'm not sick. I just needed the day.
You do not owe your employer your life, and it is okay to take a day off for no other reason than you want to. You do not need to lie. You do not need to feign illness. You can take a day off solely because you want to, and any job that says otherwise does not even pretend to value you as a person. I am fortunate to have a job with a manager that taught me that so clearly. Life is life, and work is only part of that. You should be able to call out and not have to explain yourself. You should be able to call out when you want to and when you need to. Mental health is important, and it feels like we should be at the point in which you could just call out without having to explain yourself.
May I ask why?
No,
I've been saying it. Ain't I been saying it?
I've just got life stuff.
Isn't that what Lumen's all about?
Balance?
I mean, work is just work, right?
Amazing wordplay is happening here if Lumen is trying to create an afterlife or immortality in some kind of sci-fi way. I fully believe the work is about life, either creating it or replicating it, and Mr. Milchick, unable to say anything about that, can only be silent and cry and beg that he returns the next day so that his work can create life unlike anything that we've known before.
I have your word. You report to work tomorrow?
Him staring at this painting that we've been speculating about since the season 2 trailer is so wonderful. Like, it's the tip of the iceberg. The work and everything that we've seen thus far is the tip. And beneath the surface is life and a larger existence, maybe for everybody. We've only seen Lumen as this capitalistic light that shows they are willing to do whatever it takes to advance. But what if the ends justify the means, and this terrible workplace is really about to advance humanity? They will still have to overcome quite a bit to remove the people that don't have good intentions for the working class, and like all of the philosophy and all of the egans and all of the thing that corrupts humanity along this journey. But maybe it will be worth it by the end of it.
I'll be there, I promise.
Mark promises to return the next day and looks to Miss Cobel. Another moment where I wish he would have gone, yeah, what was that about? Like, can you start explaining why I'm so vital? Like, can I have some answers here? Do I have agency? Am I a real person? What is going on in my head? Why is Hack's Dogma still believing that I have a bussy? Why am I going to a birthing retreat? Am I about to be turned into a marsupial? Is there larval in me right now? Burt buys Irving a ticket to ride and puts him on the line that will go as far away as you possibly can go. It's an interesting choice of words, and really it could be him simply fixing a problem, but I do feel that there is some real love from Burt here, and him sending him as far away as he possibly could go could be because, again, with this idea that Lumen's about to reveal Severance 2.0 and expand the scope and look for geographical locations as opposed to just a single building being severed, controlled, he could be trying to get him out of the reach of that.
I can't know where you get off, and you can never come back to Kier.
Irving asks about Lumen coming after Burt, and he doesn't answer. He explains that he liked the idea that they could be innocent again, and that he is conflicted because his innocent soul loved Irving's. It's touching. Irving reveals that he has never been loved, and Burt can't do anything about that.
Just go.
I've never had this.
Irving begs, I'm ready, over and over and over again. It's a soft moment between these two, but then Burt demands that he cannot. He shakes his head and wishes him well, and Irving walks off with Radar. I was wondering about that dog the entire time, and at one moment I was worried that he was being made to leave his dog behind, so I'm very, very glad that didn't happen. We then see Miss Wong get on her bus, Irving get on his train, Dylan wait for his elevator, and then this wild showcase of the testing floor being highlighted against the moving train. I talked before about elevators moving on vertical tracks and trains moving on horizontal tracks, and how a larger scope of severing could exist as Lumen evolves and tries to take over the world. Imagine your Innie only exists in Kier, and your Audi is actually from somewhere else entirely, and you only remember that you exist once you are beyond that threshold. Helly stays behind in this dark office, somehow unsupervised, and goes over the steps in which she could get to the testing floor, trying to memorize it so that she can leave this behind in case the mission fails. And of course, in walks her daddy. She knows him from the party, but really I'm not sure the importance of any of this just yet. I would love to hear some of your thoughts in the comments below, although I do think it relates to the whipping boy idea.
You tricked me.
Actually, I'm going to say this before the finale. Something has been off about Helly since the start of this new season, and it's not just the Glockschloopen of it all. Helena is the single person that removed Miss Cobel from the situation, and it could be because the Egans are all dirty little credit stealers, and she didn't want the creator of Severance having another accolade when Cold Harbor completes, but it could be because she's actually working against Lumen in some meaningful way. Again, Miss Cobel, ride or die for Keir, is from season 1, the single biggest supporter of the cause up until this point. Anybody that tries to stop this woman from serving Keir is a red flag to me, and the investigation into what happened that Miss Cobel wanted to continue and pursue was just simply brushed over.
We start by scouring the feed, and I need to interview Dylan G to see how he gained access to that.
We have something else in mind.
We see her used as a pawn in James' game, and the disconnect that we see with the eggs from before could show that they're far more at odds with each other than we currently know.
We should take them raw.
Also consider this note from the finale.
My dad used to make me recite the 9 core principles before bed every night, which I can't say I always did happily.
So I think it's possible that in a company culture as bad, as militant, as cutthroat as this one, that she could have her own motivations that we still don't know about, and she could be heading down a black sheep route of Ambrose before our very eyes. Also, consider the "you tricked me" line, and the last thing we heard them speak about is Irving being taken care of. Irving has talked to some mysterious person all season with no confirmation about who it is, and if Helena is actually part of the faction trying to undermine Lumen in some kind of way, I think that would be freaking wild and bring together some of the oddities that we've been discussing. But right now, all we know is that this ultra powerful man took the time to confront her Innie and says,
"You tricked me."
We then see Miss Cobel driving Hampton's car, and assuming he's still alive probably means that he is out there driving her car, which is just so funny to me. This was pointed out by community member Michael Link, and I don't think the show would overlook the opportunity to have this large man driving around angrily in a car that he doesn't fit in.
She's one of James. No one's to know.
Wild. Literally, the implications are insane. James has most certainly been impregnating severed workers and sending them here to have his offspring. Who knows how many women have been in this moment?
I'm looking for a gold symbol.
So this line was from the Twilight Zone episode called The After Hours, which is where the episode gets its name. So I watched the episode to look for additional clues and found, honestly, not much. The episode consists of these department store mannequins coming to life from time to time and acting as real people. They get confused in the process. The 9th floor is this weird other dimensional thing that only they can access, I think. And I'm just not sure. It feels like it relates to Helly in some meaningful way, as she could be the main character getting life for a brief period of time before being put back on display. But it doesn't feel like much to me. My biggest takeaway is that this could be another hint that severing in the outside world is the next big thing coming for Lumen.
Hey, Mark.
Okay, so the last time Innie Mark met Devin, he was screaming she's alive at her. Him going for the door is so weird because it doesn't make sense. For the life of me, I cannot understand why he does this, but we know that whatever happened right before this, Innie Mark was breathing hard. So the reason that we can't understand this is because we are missing a scene. The last thing that we saw him doing was being treated for a bloody nose, a nosebleed, a singular nosebleed that first started, and then again, multiple references now I've talked about nosebleeds. But this was just the memory from Outie Mark. I think this episode did do a good job of showing the timelines are pretty in sync, but I think there's still some room for something to have happened before this that we just haven't seen yet. And maybe that's why we get this flight reaction. I also feel like I could be overlooking something here, so comments do your thing. But to me, what's happening here is he comes to existence, and then whatever he was looking at right before this was so impactful that he needed to remove himself from existence so that he could get back to that and hope for the best. Like that was his response. And to me, whatever that was could have only been Gemma. Like he comes to now understand that he's back in whatever present that doesn't have Gemma, and then he just immediately, without telling anybody, without saying anything to anybody, just goes to run through that door again. But yeah, let me know.
She's alive.
We also get this awesome shot of Miss Cobel looking like a supervillain, and we hear again she's alive. The episode then ends, and really it just felt like a bunch of odd feelings going into the finale. Again, I wish we got some kind of big reveal. I'm sure that others wanted more too. Overall, this was one of the weaker episodes for me, though I'm glad that we have these factions forming and some mysteries that will be revealed in the coming days. Fingers crossed that they will be able to wrap up a good number of these threads without making us wait forever for more information. I want answers, not half-truths and more questions. Set us up for the next season without leaving every single thing that we need to consider still on the table. Tell us what happened to Gemma. Tell us what Cold Harbor is about. Tell us who Irving is working with, what happens to Ragabi, and then end the entire season with some moment that makes us wonder if Mark survives or not. But with that, we come to the end of the episode. Much love, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hearing my thoughts on a television show about the healthy work-life balance. I have been making Severance content pretty much nonstop for like 9 to 7 months now. So I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate this entire journey. If you like this content, please be sure to check out the Patreon, the YouTube membership, or the GoFundMe links below. Next week will be the final episodic review, but I am very aware that more Severance content will be made in the next couple of months. This channel will be your leading mind on everything Severance. Much love, everybody, and I cannot wait to talk to you all again soon.